In the mid-90s, television correspondent Peggy Waymeyer visited the R.W. Beckett Corporation in Elyria, Ohio, on a special assignment for ABC News. Her goal? To produce a story investigating how businessmen were integrating faith and business. John Beckett was an ideal subject for the story. A leading manufacturer of heating industry components, he had been successfully using biblical principles to run his company for years. Peggy's story aired on World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Now, 7 years later, Peggy Waymeyer returns to the R.W. Beckett Corporation for a more in-depth interview with John Beckett about how his faith serves him and his company today.
Briefly tell me about the Beckett Corporation before you came on board.
Well, my dad started this business, Peggy, in the basement of our home. He'd been in the industry for about 12 years before that, but just got this vision to start his own company, and he launched into it right at the end of the Great Depression.
Initially, John didn't think he'd join his father's company, and after graduating from college, he worked in the aerospace industry for several years. Then, his father unexpectedly invited John to join him in business.
Before then, I knew him as my dad and my mentor, but now he was a business colleague. He helped me understand the industry and the product. He really required excellence in the work setting, but also at home, and so my two sisters and I had high performance standards to measure up to.
What are some of the struggles you've had over time with your business?
I was drawing deeply from my dad, and I had this picture of being able to work with him for 10 or 15 years. He the mentor, me the understudy. And when I got the news on a chilly Friday morning that he was found slumped over the steering wheel of the car on his way to work, it radically changed my world.
At the time, John had only been working with his father for about a year.
I was 26. And I realized that I had to make some very basic decisions about the future of the company. People called and said they were interested in buying it. Would that be a better decision? What about my mother, who was dependent upon the income that our business was producing?
Is that part of what led you to deepen your faith?
It was certainly a major component of that, but the particular year in which this happened, that my dad died, that wasn't all that was in store for me. We almost lost our second daughter. She fell out of a car driving up to our summer cottage in Canada. And really by a miracle, was not killed.
Only 2 weeks later, a telephone call in the middle of the night brought more tragic news. The Beckett plant was on fire. I
got out here and the plant was engulfed in flames. It was a volunteer fire department. They'd put out barn fires before, but they'd never been in an inferno like this, not knowing what chemicals, what explosives there might have been in the plant. And I just said, guys, we're going in. We battled that fire all night.
John considers the plant's survival a miracle.
We rallied our 12 or 14 employees together and actually did not miss a single shipment to our customers. I still don't know how we did that. But these successive hammer blows, my dad's death, the accident with our daughter, now the fire, all within months of each other, really brought me to the end of myself. And I started getting more serious about what I believed, who I believed in, than I ever had before.
Did you grow up as a Christian, or did you come to some point in your adult life where you chose faith?
As I was growing up, I attended a denominational church. I'm sure that I was exposed to a measure of the truth. I'm not sure how much it actually sank in. And after I met my wife, Wendy, I realized there was a dimension to Christianity that I really hadn't seen before. And that created a thirst, a hunger for me.
How did you come to a place where you decided to make God the center of your life?
There was a point where I just had to let go of myself and cast myself into the care of Almighty God. And in doing so, I accepted Jesus for who I was beginning to understand him to be, namely the Son of God, the person who had given his own life so that I could have eternal life.
What did you come to believe, and how did that change you as a man?
Mm-hmm. I think what I had experienced up to the point of real belief was an understanding of spiritual things at a certain level, but they weren't personal. What made it personal was an act of acceptance on my part.
How does it become personal?
It's the mystery of faith, and I don't know that I ever could fully explain it to somebody, but I know it's real because it happened to me. When I engaged Jesus personally, I was able to look into his eyes by faith. I was able to hear his voice by faith. As I would read the scriptures, they were no longer black marks on white paper. They were words that were coming from the Lord, and they were personal and they were relevant. They were alive. And I was encountering a real person, somebody who I realized loved me and cared for me.
As he began growing spiritually, John realized his faith and work life had little connection with one another.
I really began living in these two separate worlds. There was the Sunday world, and there was the rest of the week world. It was some problems at work again that brought me to the place where I just said, can there be a connection between these two worlds?
Two Beckett managers had been seriously quarreling on the job. To his amazement, John found insights from the scriptures that he could apply in resolving the conflict.
It talked about conflict resolution. There was a passage I found in Matthew 18 that said, if you're having a struggle with another person, go to that person and talk to that person about it.
List off a few things, for example.
The scriptures I found speak a lot about integrity. And integrity is critical in a business if you're going to have long-term, strong relationships with your customers and your employees. It talked about finances, about honest weights and measures, and how does that translate into how you keep expense accounts and how you prepare your financial statements.
And how you handle company resources.
What does stewardship mean to you as a CEO?
Stewardship means proper handling of what has been entrusted to me, trusted by my Heavenly Father. Very often we associate stewardship with money and stewarding finances, and that's an important thing, but I really think it goes beyond that.
For example, the Beckett Corporation has developed advanced technology to conserve fuel.
The amount of fuel that our company has saved since we brought some new technology on stream is enough to fill a train of tank cars that would go all the way around the world. It's over 2 trillion gallons of oil.
Kurt Oswald left a senior management position with one of Beckett's major customers to join the R.W. Beckett team. He's the company's director of its Advanced Technology Center. Kurt says one of the main things that attracted him to the Beckett Corporation was the company's atmosphere and morale.
The most incredible attribute of this company are its values and the kinds of people that work here. I mean, we're living in a time where there are a lot of things challenging American business. That doesn't occur here. Things going well.
Kurt and many of the other employees we talked to credit John Beckett's management style with the positive corporate environment.
I think any company starts with leadership, so it obviously comes from John's principles. A lot of people would look at John's strong Christian beliefs and maybe almost feel uncomfortable with it, but he hasn't created it that way. I mean, it basically is about making a company a great place to work.
John doesn't preach to his employees or expect them to share his faith, but his unusual management style, which he calls servant leadership, is unmistakably Christian.
My concept of servanthood begins with the fact that I have an accountability to Jesus Christ as my master. That idea of serving him infiltrates the thinking of all my relationships. So if I'm with the head of one of our departments, or if I'm with an employee on the plant floor, I'm thinking not how do I exercise any kind of mastership over that person or situation, but how do I serve them? What it does for the other person is help them see that they're valued, and it gives them freedom to share their thoughts and share their heart in ways that they wouldn't if they felt that they were being confined in some way.
philosophy trickles down into almost every corporate policy that touches employee lives. For example, the Beckett Corporation provides unusually generous maternity benefits. New mothers may take up to 26 weeks off after childbirth with partial pay if they plan to return to full-time work after that period. And there are other benefits Lisa Kuko is taking advantage of.
They offer a program at work for mothers that want to work at home. They offer it up to 3 years. And I decided to do it for a couple months. I actually make these binders at home. I think it's important for me to be home with her right now.
The Beckett Company agrees.
I can go back anytime I want. And they'll put me right back on the line that I left from.
Penny Seaman is R.W. Beckett's Director of Human Resources. She says the company's attitude toward employees begins with the hiring process, which includes extensive aptitude testing.
We really care about the people. We're not just so interested in what skills they're going to bring to us. We care about them as people. And during the process, we really want them to go away feeling very good. We want it to be a memorable experience. Regardless of the outcome, we want them to feel good about Beckett and want even more so to be a part of us.
Beckett managers work hard to keep employees feeling good, even after years of service.
We have great longevity in our employees. I've been here 28 years. We have ladies been here 51 years.
Why do you think it is that some employees stay so long at the Beckett Corporation?
I think they see that not only the company cares about them, but their coworkers care about them. We have some awesome relationships amongst our employees.
This place is a family.
Opal Sloan has worked at R.W. Beckett for more than 14 years. During that time, she lost her husband of 26 years. Only 2 months later, Opal's son was seriously injured in an industrial accident. Opal had to stay home to care for her son for an entire year.
He held my job. They did benefits and raised money. They sent flowers. They had prayer sessions for my son, because I know in my heart that the prayer and the unity, being friends and family, is the only thing that pulled my son out of this.
Eventually, Opal returned to work, but continued caring for her son at home in the evenings. At one point, the stress became overwhelming.
I thought I was having a heart attack, and they sent me to the hospital from here. Mr. Beckett and Wendy came to the hospital to see me. I'm good at my job. I know what I'm doing, and I'm an asset to this company. I know I am. But he don't have to take time to come to the hospital to see me. And him and Wendy did, and I'll never, ever forget that. Never.
You know what, we may not have a cross out front or even a steeple, but there's so much love in this building. There's been days I've walked in that back door with my heart down to my toes, and there's always been somebody in this plant, from the office, even Mr. Beckett, all the way down, that did nothing but support me and help me in every way.
In the same way that R.W. Beckett drew his son John into the family business, John is now training several of his own children for future leadership in the company. He and his wife of more than 40 years, Wendy, have a big family, 6 children and 8 grandchildren, many of whom live nearby in Elyria. The Beckett's oldest son, Kevin, is now president of the company. Kevin sounds much like his father when he talks about the philosophy that drives the company.
I think it really goes back to our 3 core values: integrity, excellence, and profound respect for the individual. Integrity is a cornerstone, really, of being consistent, being honest in all you do personally as well as in the business environment. Excellent, again, we're focusing on some tools that will help us become better at the processes that we perform, the products that we design. And, of course, profound respect for the individual is essential as well, whether it's our employees, whether it's our customers, our suppliers. It's a concept of treating everyone for what they are. They're created in the image of God, and they are deserving of our respect in that regard.
To Beckett managers, that means helping employees grow to their greatest potential.
Part of the function of the corporation is to help identify what is really there in a person's genetic being that enables them to be all that they can be, to use that overused expression, but in a corporate setting.
Tim Brewster started on the assembly line, but was eager to move up in the company.
Basically, I was looking at doing some type of design work or something like that, and wanting to go back to school, but I wasn't sure, how I'd actually be able to afford something like that.
Tim wanted to take a 2-year advanced program in drafting to prepare him for promotion, but it would have cost him $27,000 in tuition and fees. Then he heard about the Beckett Corporation's employee tuition program.
Through the tuition program, they'll pay for 3/4 of the schooling. And so I enrolled at ITT. They pay for 3/4 of the tuition there, which allowed me to be able to afford the schooling there. After 2 years now, I'm almost done, and they're going to hire me on as being the drafter.
Tiffany Boyd works at R.W. Beckett, but also takes internet and home video college courses offered by Kent State University.
I want to end up being an OBGYN. I want to deliver babies. That is my goal.
Obviously, delivering babies has nothing to do with manufacturing oil burners.
It doesn't even have to be related to Beckett necessarily. So they're really interested in improving the people, not necessarily doing something to get something in return.
Why pay for college and give them all this extra training, which is pretty expensive?
It is, but I think it's cheap when you can develop employees that know the organization, know our culture, know our people, know our values, and also have the technical understanding of our product line. It's really the best candidate to be promoted into a different area of the organization. So.
Joel Mohar is a perfect example.
Started here as an engineering co-op, and I moved into an industrial engineering position full-time. I went out to the shop floor for a year as a supervisor, and I came back into our industrial engineering department, and I've been the plant superintendent for the last, 6 or 7 years. I don't think that they ever gave me a position that I hadn't worked towards. You have to set yourself up for success.
The Beckett Company's view of how to treat people extends not only to employees, but to customers as well.
I think we as a customer sense that camaraderie among the employees, that they feel part of something and that they want to be part of something to make it right.
How would you say your philosophy of relating to customers is unique because of your faith?
If we take that idea of service, Peggy, and apply it to the customer, then we're coming in under the customer in a servant role. And our offering to the customer is not just put a product in a box and ship it, but provide a full support structure around what we do.
I think it has to do with the way we treat the customer when we interact with them. We have big customers, we have small customers. Everyone deserves respect, everyone deserves good service from us. And I think as we strive to do those things, it helps us maintain our market share. I think it's partly a posturing as well, one of humility. We think in terms of each day earning the right to serve our customers.
One snowy Christmas Eve, Jim Seaman, general sales manager for R.W. Beckett, received a call from a customer. The customer had miscalculated his inventory requirements for the holidays and needed additional products to meet his company's manufacturing schedule.
We had it here in stock, but we had no way to get it there. So I loaded it up in the car, and I remember there wasn't a lot of room in the car after it was loaded, but I drove it out there on Christmas Eve and delivered it.
It was a 3-hour round-trip drive in stormy weather.
I didn't think a lot about it, but obviously the customer did, and they wrote a letter and told John just couldn't believe that somebody would do that, especially the day before Christmas.
I think one of the things that's outstanding about R.W. Beckett as a company is the fact that you can depend on that they are people of integrity.
John Beckett's reputation as an ethical and spiritual business leader has led many other corporate executives to inquire about his unique philosophy of business. Those inquiries eventually led John to write Loving Monday, a book already published in 10 languages. Loving Monday describes John's journey to blend faith and business. It's a journey John is quick to say is not completed.
What are some of the most important keys to keeping yourself on track spiritually?
Well, I've mentioned reading the Bible. Prayer is another organized, absolutely key element. I can tell you that for 30 years, a small group of men have met every Thursday morning to pray about our company, to pray about our families, personal needs. It's a bond that is just very precious to all of us. We have a strong commitment to each other to pray for one another and especially to pray for the companies that we serve.
If you could say one thing to CEOs for whom faith is important why integrating faith into your business practice is worth the trouble, what would you want to tell them?
I would tell them, first of all, that it's good business. What customer doesn't want to be well served? What employee doesn't want to be in an environment where they're respected and valued? And I would tell them that life is more than just this month's bottom line, and that they want to get to a point in their lives where they can look back over their lives and say, this was a deeply rewarding experience. We can be worthwhile right where we are, right in the workplace. That can be our ministry.
Under John's leadership, the R.W. Beckett Corporation has grown from 12 employees and $1 million in sales to 3 businesses, 600 employees, and approximately $100 million in sales.
Tell us what you attribute your personal and professional success to.
I think the Lord has been very gracious to me to not only equip me so that I could function in this arena, but to have the opportunity to do it. I think I've been successful in attracting good people around me, giving them the latitude to be themselves and to grow. We've experimented, we've made mistakes, we've been adventuresome, we've had fun. It's built a healthy enterprise that has prospered.
Thank you for joining us on this return visit to the R.W. Beckett Corporation. I hope you're encouraged, as I am, that one company's approach to bringing faith and work together continues to have a profound impact on every aspect of its business.